So I wanted to go over one super common technique that we use, and that's the sort of a Payong crash entry. This is very common as either a straight charge or as a counter to another person's, usually a #1 strike, where you are, I preempt the attack and I'm going in and I'm trying to control the other person's arm, or I go off to the side. So most people already have, Payong 1, and it's super common. Now we're going to get into how to use this opposite hand and how to interact as we get to medium and close range as we close that distance. So I'm not really going to address the Largo range on this. So the first one is done at medium range. And so if we're talking about ranges here, long range would be out here. Essentially we can hit each other's hands. Medium ranges we can hit the body, and close range is we're in somewhere within that range, usually below punching range. So one of the things we want to look at this is, when he strikes here, obviously I want to oppose this, and I want to safely enter, especially at this medium range one. How my hand here interacts with that blade is really important. So one of the ways that I try to teach this is, you'll see often a supported one here. In the beginning I'll actually do this. I'll just make a fist here so that I get this feeling that where this is coming from. And then this is going to hack down behind it. This is a gunting when I'm doing this, but a lot of times in the beginning, a lot of people try to do this. And what happens when you do that is this happens. Even if I take this hand interacts this way with his weapon, and that's not good at all. I want to come in behind his weapon. Okay, so we're going to go offline, and right now in my footwork, I'm stepping off to my right. When I do that here, I'm coming down, and I want to get behind this blade. I'm not trying to enter right now. Right? If I try to enter, I'm going to get hit. I'm here, I'm passing, and then I'm going to respond. So I'm stepping offline, and one of the reasons I do that is to make sure that my footwork saves me. This is insurance in case I miscalculate. Here I get offline and interact. Okay? So here, and respond. And then what this hand is doing is if I was super fast, I could grab it. But really, I don't expect myself to do that. I interact here, and I'm just throwing. If I could get a cool disarm, that'd be cool too. Really, what I'm trying to do is just chuck the whole thing to the side, give him some extra push on that opposite side here, so that I can hit him back, and it takes him longer to recover. Okay, here, and respond. Okay, so that's sort of medium range. Again, long range would be, this hand has no business being in there at all. Okay, but I'm going to focus on this medium and close range. So the next step is where we get in a little deeper. So instead of the footwork of being off to the side, I'm now looking to close. And a lot of times when I do this is because I'm initiating this. I'm not being reactive like I was over here. I'm going to preempt I see him loaded on that #1, and I'm just choosing to go. Where I hit in here will depend on how fast he is and how deep I go. Maybe he backs up a little bit, whatever. That's going to wind up about where I wind up hitting this. And the action where I did it before was Payong, and then I passed it this way. Now it's going to be Payong, and I'm going to overwrap. But it's the same motion as we interact at different levels on this wrap over. So depending on where I get on his arm, because there's a whole bunch of factors going on in a fight, will slightly change the technique, but not really a lot. Okay? So when I go here, I'm going to enter, I'm going to overwrap, and then usually where before I hit him with a #1, if I try to do that here, I expect him to block it. And it becomes really easy to block. So what I'm going to do is it's going to be my Payong, and I'm going to come back with the thrust. So around here, right, we do that again. I crash, enter, boom, and I'm going to stab him repeatedly. This is obviously a blade technique. I'd have to do something different if this was a stick. But this becomes a real nuisance because he obviously has to get to a control point on my weapon arm, and that's very difficult to do as long as I'm doing my job. Okay. So we we enter here, I crash, and here I'm secure, right? It's a monkey trap. He had to free himself, and there are certainly counters to this, so I don't want to say there aren't counters, but if we get to here, he's sort of monkey trapped in here, and the most common thing to do is, guys, for them to yank themselves back out of this. And I'm fine with that. As long as they're thinking about this, they're not dealing with this that's going on right now. Okay? So in the beginning, that super simple Payong crash stab is super common, and it's a goal in sparring. Right? Very common for, I'm going to do a straight crash, it's going to look like that. So, now, slight variations on this one. Here, I come in, I wrap up. If I get slightly farther out, this would be the beginning of the snake disarm. The snake disarm would be this, okay? It's a really cool disarm. Honestly, a fairly common one, especially in stick systems. And people will have discussions about, well, this is a good or bad disarm as I go in here. You can't really see the, here, actually, let me, right here. This is a good framing for that. So, when I do this here, Panutis are usually single-edged, okay, so that would be the dull edge. This would be, this thing is usually up against my ribs here, okay? I'm not hugging it against my pec. That's not my goal. I'm trying to get this. If a disarm happens out of this, fantastic. That's, again, not the goal. I'm just trying to secure this thing. This is no different than when I was in here. I'm just doing it over here, okay? Again, I'm just trying to control it. If a disarm happens, and the way this usually happens is because I will pull this back really hard, then disarm happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But if you look at the angle on this, okay, the back of the blade is up against the inside of my arm here, and the front of the blade is up against my ribs. Okay, I'm not hugging this against my pec this way, it's doing this. One of the common counters would be he would yank his sword out here and do that. That would suck for me, and I'm the first to say it. And I'm going to have a slice that comes off my ribs and goes there. What vital did that hit on me? Pretty much nothing, right? I didn't get it cut all the way across my pec. It came up the side, right across my ribs and drew out. Not saying I want that cut. But apparently I'm in a sword fight. And for that period of time that all of this was happening, I should be doing something else with my blade. I'll kind of take that. I mean, I'm not saying I want to get that injured, but that is because I didn't get deep enough. It wasn't because I'm going for the disarm. The disarm is there, right? It's just, if I get it, fantastic. If I don't, who cares? If I get a cut and I'm in a duel for my life and I kill him or stop the fight because I've stabbed him 6 times, I think I'm okay with that. This is an injury. If you have to take an injury, I'm okay with this one. Okay? So that's where, to me, the disarm happened. Disarms aren't the goal here. I'm not saying this is, but if it happened, fantastic. And we'll go from there. Okay, so next level is getting deeper here, and again, nothing changes from here. So one of the things that actually can happen from here is some of his counters, he can actually, or he can start whacking you in the back of the head, just like this, depending on how much arm room he has. I'll often actually move back out to try to control that wrist. And if I'm back down on that wrist, his ability to manipulate that is more difficult. Okay, and also I want to be out here stabbing him, not in here stabbing him. Where now all of a sudden we can go counter for counter, and bad things are going to happen. Okay, I want to be enough room to get some play in with my blade, not just from distance. So that's the Payong crash, or the Payong counter, using this overwrap motion. Super common. I'm going to post some sparring examples afterwards so you can see it sort of in action. I use it all the time. For me as a shorter guy, this is a bread and butter move for me against taller guys, because they're always dropping shots on me and I'm coming in and I'll wrap. So anyway, hope that helped. If you have questions, feel free to ask.
Oh, I put a more.